All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Dion's Daily Dose. And today, I'm going to adjust my camera since I was doing something with it earlier, and it is less than perfect. There we go. All right. So today we have a very special guest. It is Timothy Stabosz, the current Porte County Auditor, and he is running for commissioner for a seat currently held by Rich Mrzinski, who, if you've been paying attention to the channel, you know that he is not going to appear on the Republican ballot for the primary election, which is, I'm not sure it's happened before, but nonetheless, there's going to be a Republican primary and there will be several individuals on it. This will be one of them. And without further ado, we're going to welcome Timothy Stabosz to the show. There he is.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Looking forward to this. Call me Tim for the rest of the show, I insist.
Okay. Tim it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Good, good. So one of the things that I'm trying to make sure I can see you. I have, just so you know, I have a slightly different camera setup than I've been using. And it's like right in my field of vision, which unfortunately kind of, you're going to see me doing this a lot so that I can make eye contact. I'm still working on it, guys. Okay. Limited it's good. So a lot of people, I'm sure, in LaPorte County have heard your name because newspapers and local reporters tend to get, anytime there's anything interesting in county council meetings or other meetings, commissioner meetings, they report on it as if it's earth-shattering, right? I wouldn't go that far, but I would say as far as name recognition goes, and this is a comment that I received actually on one of the little advertisements, the shares that I did for the show to get ready, is he certain the comment was he certainly has name recognition. So the good thing is that's 9/10 of the battle when it comes to running for political office is, do they know your name?
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, good to know. Thank you. So apparently, let me double check something. That's what it did. Sorry about that. Let me fix this real quick. Excuse me.
Okay.
There. I was told that there was significant audio echo that should have taken care of it. There we go. I forgot to press a button. I forgot a button when we started, so I apologize for that. Luckily, my my wonderful, lovely wife Liz ran in here and held up a note and told me that I had, excuse me, that I had the echo. So it's fixed now. I hope. If it's not, drop something in the comments and I'll see what I can do. There we go. Take care of it. I can't read what that says. You're killing me here. Okay, so apparently, hold on. I'm told that there's a repeat. I don't hear anything, so I'm not sure what she's talking about. Interesting. We're gonna move on. Maybe we can fix it in post processing. I'm not sure what she means about it's repeating.
Well, she'll come back.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll come back with another note to let me know how I'm failing. No, I'm just kidding. She does a great job of keeping stuff on track and making sure that everything's going well, which I greatly appreciate. But I'd like to start off by, I hope that everyone, see, good now. That's what I said. See, now that I took care of it. She was talking about, it has to do with the audio, and I forgot to hit mute on this one. It's fixed now. That's the short version. All right. So I'd like to start off. Hopefully everyone took the time to read your bio, but I doubt they did. So rather than go through,
I'm going to step in and defend your audience right now. Actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. No, I'm sure that they did. I made sure to include it in the post, and a lot of people, they do read the whole thing.
I can be a snooze though, right?
No. I personally find you very interesting. I've known
you.
Tim on a like social level for a few years now. When I first ran for office, I met him when I would go to the Republican stuff. I've known him and the other individuals running for several years now. So,
and we got to know each other a little bit better personally, as more than just acquaintances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Friendly the last year or so.
Right,
So
right. I would agree.
Understand each other, kind of know a little bit more about each other. So
right. And
know.
that's kind of what what I want to convey to the people watching is I know you on a social level. I know you beyond the headlines and the little blurbs and stuff like that. One of the things, so I'm gonna dive into some history here a little bit. One of the things that I was told when I first got to know you was that you used to restore old pinball machines, and I think that's really cool because I always loved pinball machines when I was a kid and playing them, and I was terrible at it. I was always very, very bad at it. Wife and I actually went to this little Valentine's Day event where I forgot the name of the place, but I think it was Full Tilt in LaPorte.
Oh, okay.
And they do this little, they have like couples pinball where you play together and then you got to compare your high scores. And so we did okay. I think we came in like fifth, but we were, I was never really that good at pinball. She carried us for the most part.
I grew up with pinball machines. I'm 56 years old. I just turned 56 a few days ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Belatedly.
And video games were not quite coming in yet. It was still pinball machines. And in those days, before the electronic games came in, it was the tail end of the electromechanical era, where the machines had chimes, 3 different sounding bells, and to a child. And then the artwork, I've always been kind of into beautiful things, artistry. I kind of like maybe older cars, not muscle cars, but and so the artistry, the pop art of the designers of some just interesting artwork of the times they were, and it kind of evoked or suggested the whole time periods. They tried in ways to appeal, I think, to young adolescent boys. With some of their rather risque or sensual or sexualized graphics.
Right. Some of the graphics and art were very. I mean, they were very drawn.
Suggestively.
Yeah, that's the best way. Yeah.
But so it was just part of that era, and I'm old enough that so. I think, I don't know, 20 or so years ago, I think I went to this show in Chicago, Pinball Expo, and they had an auction or something, and I ended up buying a machine that was, not alleged to work or anything, but it was an old electromechanical machine where you had scoring reels, like the dial, an odometer on a car, the way they used to have mechanical odometers, and I bought this thing for $160, and I didn't know what to, but there was a reseller in Kalamazoo who was kind of willing to almost mentor me. And I'm not mechanical by background, but I became pretty good at restoring and figuring out and diagnosing the innards of the machine. Very fascinating, because they'll never be made this way again. It's cloth wiring and it's just kind of interesting how they mechanically have certain things happen, how they simulate randomness, and so and then touching up the play fields and touching up the back glasses, the glass that illuminates. Reds tend to peel, so kind of touching up colors. So it was kind of an interesting thing that I did for a while, and I kind of wonder where I got the 2 hernias. I had a belly button hernia I had fixed a couple years ago, and I got a hiatal hernia that I wonder if it was from heavy lifting, but I haven't done any restoration work in several years. And I've kind of gotten out of that, probably, the busyness of politics and whatever else. But I love pinball machines. I think they're great. I think they're great. There's those older pinball machines have an innocence to them. So
they do. It's all electronic.
And then I was into the electronic era too, the early electronic era, and even more modern, well, not super modern pinballs, but so I don't know. We could talk pinballs for an hour. We better not.
Right. Yeah, move it up. But I do find it interesting.
But I'm a regular guy, right? That's what that shows.
It does. The the pinball era, they still make them, but they're very different now. It's all like our video game systems. It's all electronics, just bits and ones and zeros. You're talking about the mechanical ones that had like you said, reels, like odometer style, and there were clicks and clacks and the bells and
relays,
all of that.
Relays.
Yeah,
Very
which
interesting.
it's interesting to me.
Pre-solid state.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so you mentioned art, and your appreciation of it. Is there what was your favorite pinball machine to play as a kid? Do you have one specifically, or was it just kind of like whatever?
Oh, I can't remember. I mean, when I first came to LaPorte there during that era, the whole Pinbot series was pretty cool, and they had like 3 or 4 different versions of Pinbot. That would be into the early 90s.
Okay, yeah.
So, but I guess if there's something maybe people don't know about me when they see me being a finance guy and into numbers and can be pretty cerebral in my head.
Yeah,
a lot, that I'm actually into artistic and beautiful things. I live in an old house because it's painted in 5 different colors, and it's beautiful, and I've researched the history of the family that built it, and I'm connected. I've gone to the cemetery where they're buried, or he's buried, and I'm a musician. I took piano lessons for 13 years as a child. I got an old piano in my house that I had restored that I play. I played trumpet in high school. I was in the marching band. So, there is some artistic and other background. I got an old 1973 Mercedes that I love. It's a dark green olive car that I like to take out.
Beautiful.
Have you seen that car?
Yeah,
it's not that it's particularly. It's not that it's high value or anything.
No,
it's just a beautiful, dignified. It looks like a diplomat, car or something.
That's
really
the ones. It's
car.
actually that style. Speaking of diplomat, that's the style of car that I remember from like the 80s and 90s movies, that they'd have stretched, and it was exactly that body style.
Yes, I think certain Latin American dictators had the longer version of that car.
exactly
Banana Republic.
Right.
It was one version was in one of the James Bond movies that was on the Roger Moore era.
Oh, okay, yeah, and it's a beautiful car, and it evokes, like you said, a very dignified aura around it. In my opinion, just looking at it, and of course, it's. For
people are wondering what we're talking about, I'm talking about a 1973, in the last year of the style, 280 Mercedes 280 SEL.
There we go. Yeah,
280 SEL.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car.
Government, politics.
Yeah,
you should be leading the show, but
no, by all means, it's a good segue, because
government, politics,
diplomats.
Well, that is a good segue. Yeah, right. Thank you. So, I was always interested in presidential politics as a kid. Okay. Say that, my first political interest was Jimmy Carter. I'm a Republican, but what 7-year-old or 8-year-old wouldn't like Jimmy Carter? To me, he was like Fred Rogers. With a smile.
He was very personable.
Very personable.
Yeah,
so,
he was a very personable.
I got into politics. I'm not sure, how or why, but always found it interesting. Always watched the news as a kid, and saw Jimmy Carter actually when he was campaigning in the Chicago Evergreen Plaza Mall outside Chicago back in 1975. So Center Court. So I've always been interested in that. Moved to LaPorte, in the early 90s, and eventually ran for city council. Served on the LaPorte City Council for a couple terms under Morris when Morris was mayor that one term, and then under Blair Milo her second term. So. Ran for mayor in the Republican primary. Tom Dermody ran there and shellacked me, as kind of expected. But I wanted to get my ideas out there and lobby for what I believed in, and have a bully, not a bully pulpit, but a place to advertise what I believed in. So
absolutely, and that's one thing that I've always appreciated about you, is your willingness to step up and speak your mind.
I appreciate that. That is true about me, and I've been really disappointed. So then after that, I decided to run for LaPorte County Auditor in 2020, and the party needed someone. I have a background, an accounting degree from DePaul University. Really, my love of my life in terms of my making a living has been in the stock market since going back 30 years. I kind of fell in love with the concept and figuring out the riddle of the stock market, which is, what makes a company undervalued. And,
Right.
You could buy Amazon, you could buy Google, you could buy these growth companies and sit on them and make a ton of money. And that's great. That's not what I do. I turn over stones and look for the dregs that no one likes and find undervaluation in unloved companies, the ugly ducklings, so, I ran for county auditor, got elected. I wanted to protect the county. I wanted to protect the taxpayers. I had seen reading in the newspaper over the last generation or more about the way power was wielded in LaPorte County under Democratic control, primarily because Democrats tended to win elections.
Right.
I didn't like it. What I saw was an attorney whose name was Shaw Friedman, who has an office in downtown LaPorte, who was a former Democratic Party chairman, and pretty much for most of the last generation or more, almost the de facto Democratic Party chairman, even though he doesn't have his name on it. He would recruit candidates for county commissioner who would get elected. He'd constantly run against NIPSCO. It's his clever gimmick was to, they're running, blaming and running against NIPSCO and get people elected who would hire him as county attorney. And then he'd run the county. Right. And I thought that was dirty. And I watched it for 30 years. I think it was wrong. And I think it was corrupt. And it is really. And so I thought, we need a county auditor in there that will be able to watch and have a chance of protecting the taxpayers from this type of stuff and drawing attention to it on all the aspects of it. And I got in there, I got elected. Joe Haney got elected as county commissioner and defeated one of Shaw Friedman's stooge commissioners, Dr. Vijayakura. Nice guy, but
he is a nice
doesn't stand up on principle. He's historically been one of Shaw Friedman's lackeys, for lack of a better phrase.
Historically, he's voted very passively towards pretty much whatever agenda has been pushed.
Right. So I hoped for, I've seen some interesting things, and they've been pretty dark things the last 3.5 years as the county auditor. I'm the guy that pays the bills and writes the checks for the county. Right. We have centralized pay, centralized where each department head, has authority over a budget, whether it's highway department or the sheriff, or the park department. They have their authority. They're given an amount to spend. They have employees that perform the duties of their department, and they want to issue payments, and we issue them, and they come through us. We issue the checks. So, and we pay the payroll of the county employees, and so we're the financial lifeblood of the county in the auditor's office. But I'm running for commissioner now. I'm running for the seat that, as you mentioned, Rich Brzezinski got thrown off the ballot over, which was kind of cool. Because Rich has Rich has been a complete horse's ass the last 3 years, and he's embarrassed himself and he's humiliated himself. This is the guy that left a snake in a rubber snake in an unmarked envelope outside my door. The auditor's door.
I just want to interject real quick because
station identification.
No, I think it's important that the viewers that you may or may not know the entire story there. So a rubber snake was put into an envelope and slipped under a door.
Well, I left outside the door.
Left outside the door. And then there were questions. Who did this? There were accusations, hey, you did this. Commissioner Brzezinski vehemently denied any involvement, said he didn't do anything until
your listeners can Google Stabosz, ABC 57, Brzezinski probably, because they did a segment that's available. So if you Google Stabosz, Brzezinski, and ABC 57 Snake, you'll get the video of the thing.
And because he is on video. Not to mention that this.
So I'm holding up the snake at the commission meeting. Commissioner Brzezinski, did you leave this snake outside my door? I couldn't have left it because I left for vacation the night before. Well, we found on his keep fob record and the video outside there, like he wouldn't know this. He's a commissioner, that he came into the office and left the thing outside the door, trying to scare me or trying to intimidate me. So then he's caught, and then he admits it. But he doesn't really admit it. He says that, I left it on behalf of someone else. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I left it on behalf of and by the way, Tim Stabosz is a sissy because it bothered him. Like he said that to the Northwest Indiana Times. So, Rich Brzezinski has been an embarrassment to LaPorte County. And, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this. We should be talking about, what I want to do as commissioner. But part of what I'm talking about and why I'm running for commissioner is this county has been effed up. This county has been really screwed up last generation or more. You're going to get someone who is educated, someone who's got a background in finance. So you want to segue to economic development and the like.
There you go.
We've had it in LaPorte County where there's a toll taker. In historically has been Shaw Freeman, who runs the county as an attorney, because he recruits people who then get elected. They hire him as county attorney. They hire him as redevelopment commission attorney. He's the health board attorney. He was the 39 North Conservancy District attorney, or still is, and so and he's chairman of the board of the Swanson Center, or he was chairman, or a high level position that gets $700,000 a year of county money. So the conflicts of interest are astonishing.
Yes, they are.
They are ugly.
Yes.
And they're wrong, and it's compromised the operating authority of LaPorte County. The county commissioners, which are a three-member body, that's supposed to govern the county, like the mayor of the county.
Right.
They should not be beholden to an attorney.
Agreed.
They should not be beholden to an attorney. That's wrong.
Yes.
So if you elect me, the great thing about Rich Brzezinski getting thrown off the ballot is that even though he said he was going to fire Shaw Freeman, he kept Shaw Freeman. Yeah, he became beholden to Shaw Freeman, and he did things at Shaw Freeman's order. Shaw Freeman ordered Rich Brzezinski to do things that he did. We saw it, we knew it, and it's wrong. Yeah. So I'm running for commissioner first and foremost because to look the voter in the eye and say, you are electing the person that's actually going to make the decisions. I will listen to you as the voting public, and I will use my conscience and I will use my educated background as someone with an accounting background, someone who has a passionate interest in planning and zoning and has qualifications regarding overseeing economic development, because cost benefit analysis and things like what we call in the finance profession net present value, which is what is the current value of the stream of future benefits from an economic development project. In other words, if we're going to give tax abatement, are we getting a return on that, or are we giving away the store? Instead of just trusting economic development consultants, outsiders, and they're good guys. I mean, they generally know their stuff. Yeah. You want to have a commissioner in there that's got a finance background that can directly protect the taxpayer's interest, because sometimes maybe the outside consultant, I like our current consultant. Right. I think he's good. Yeah. But sometimes the outside consultant, they want to push a deal over the line because they get paid or whatever. So you want to have a commissioner in there that can do the cost benefit analysis, that can oversee that. You don't need an attorney who's both the county commission attorney, not currently, but was, and also the redevelopment commission attorney, who's got his fingers in the cookie jar and is getting benefits for himself or trying to advance his own power, a power broker. Yeah. So,
there's an agenda there.
I'm talking about cleaning up the county to have the operating authority be ultimately possessed, not by me if I'm elected, but by the people. Because I represent the people, and then my good conscience, because I'm not looking to serve my own self-interest. Right. I'm looking to serve the people uniformly, because I've been successful in my own private life. And I've been sick, and I'm sick and tired, and at times even despondent, which means like really sad and overwhelmed at what I've seen in the way certain county officials have sold themselves out and do not possess integrity. I'm asking you all listening to support me in the Republican primary and in the general election for county commissioner to clean up this county and have it where you possess through me as an elected commissioner and the other two commissioners. Joe Haney's a great guy. He's running for re-election, by the way, and possess the operating authority that you actually possess it through someone you elected.
Right.
So,
right. Absolutely. And I haven't been in politics that long. I really kind of jumped into it in 2020 and off the deep end, I might add, but I learned a great deal in the meantime. And one of the things that I learned is politicians in general, but specifically here in LaPorte County, they will look you in the eye and they will promise you the world. They will say they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do this. And then once they're elected, it's like they completely forget who they work for. One of the great things that I appreciate about you is in your time as auditor, you worked for the people. The entire point, every meeting that I watched that Mr. Stabosz had something to say, it wasn't for his own personal benefit. And I think that's really important that people understand. You weren't up there talking for yourself. You were up there talking because you saw something that didn't sit right with your principles.
Right.
And that's critical. That's absolutely critical. You're one of the few people, and I would say Joe Haney as well, that have been elected and have done what you said you were going to do. But I do have a question though.
I will continue to do what I do, which is stand up for what I believe in, because I have to trust that the public, enough people are paying attention to see that he deserves our respect, that we can rely on him, and that he will do what he says and says what he does, because people are longing in this country. They're longing for leadership, and they're longing for truthfulness, and they don't mind if they disagree with you on something, if they know that you're honorable, if they know that they can trust you, if they know that your heart is coming from the right place. And there's not enough of that. I have seen weak-willed people either become puppets of the attorney that I referred to earlier, where they don't stand up, they're coerced by him, they're seduced by him, or because of their own weak character, their ego needs, their needs for power, their needs to, feel good about themselves, that they get caught up in the trappings of the office. I'm really excited about the possibility of rebuilding the operating authority of the county from the ground up, which is to restore confidence and trust and faith and hope on the part of all of our department heads, and to banish or get rid of the way that we've done business in LaPorte County, and to vest or put trust in each of the 40 or 50 or whatever some odd department heads we have, where they're not living in fear of being told what to do or threatened with being fired, because it happens, and it happens, frankly, more regularly than you would realize.
Oh, absolutely.
And that they can trust that the people that are in charge are not thugs, which we have had at times, or crazies, which we have also had, including in fairly recent times.
Currently, there are some elected officials that fit the bill.
The department heads and employees deserve a sane and stable place to work in.
Agreed.
And to be supported. Department heads need to be supported in the possession of their authority by the commission. If the commissioners who appoint all the department heads, if they don't like the way someone's doing their job, that person needs to be politely or otherwise, if it's wrongdoing, replaced. But you don't micromanage. You don't micromanage department heads, because they have specialty, they have expertise in their areas. I'm not an expert in all these areas. I need to provide overriding guidance to the county as a whole.
Right. I agree. So what do you think is the biggest, you've, in my opinion, you've done a phenomenal job as auditor.
Thank you, Dean.
A lot of people would run for re-election on that, but instead of running for re-election as auditor, you've decided, you know what? I think I can do more good as commissioner, or I think I can solve more problems. What was the big thing for you that made you decide, I'm not going to run for auditor again, I'm going to go for...
It's a great question. Moral urgency.
Okay.
Moral urgency. I have to do this. I can't bear what I'm seeing. I can't bear what I'm seeing. I can't bear what it's costing the people of LaPorte County. I'm not sure I want this cup, or that I want this situation, but I have to do this because the people of LaPorte County deserve better. And in fact, on my rack card here,
by all means,
it was printed a couple weeks ago or whatever. It says at the bottom, because you deserve better. So, I can't see that. That's fine. But, and yes, that picture is 3 or 4 years old, by the way, of me.
It's not a bad picture.
It's a good picture. It's
it's a good picture.
So, because you deserve better.
We do. We absolutely do.
So I really felt like I had to run. And, I know that especially in the fall, this is going to be an ugly campaign. My political enemies, those, they've sought to get me falsely and illegitimately charged with intimidation. I'm in legal disputes with Attorney Friedman, with Shaw Friedman, over he sued me for defamation 3 years ago. I spent money out of my own pocket to fend off this illegitimate, fraudulent lawsuit that's intended to intimidate me. There's stories in the Northwest Indiana Times and in the Herald Argus and Herald Dispatch and Michigan City News Dispatch and South Bend Tribune going back 30 years talking about Shaw Freeman's conflicts of interest and the ugliness of his self-interest and the way he's operated. So, we're going to win at trial. The trial is scheduled for June. We're going to go to trial, most likely in any case. And win that case. But, there's also this billing dispute where there were certain charges on his bills that I refused to pay because he couldn't document that he wasn't operating in a political capacity or as a illegal a lobbyist or a community organizer or an unauthorized county administrator. So yeah, to answer your earlier question, I felt I had to run for county commissioner because the best chance of restoring the operating authority of LaPorte County to the people was for me to run for commissioner. Because it seems like, one of the things that Mr. Friedman has done successfully in more modern times, he used to be just the guy that recruited Democrats because he was Democratic Party chair. What he realizes is that if the Republicans get a strong presidential candidate and his stooges get swept out of office, that he's then out of power. So he started inserting his tentacles in the Republicans like Rich Brzezinski and others, Rich being a former Democrat, so that he can be in power all the time.
Right.
And so, I need to be the Republican that runs, that will not allow his tentacles to be inserted into me, so that the operating authority of LaPorte County can be possessed by the actual people elected instead of by, an attorney who's self-aggrandizing, to say, among other things.
I think that it's really important to understand. So I'm gonna kind of back up just a little bit, because most people that I've talked to in the course of doing the show, they're very interested. They're very, very interested in local politics, but they don't really follow it. Like, they want to know what's going on at the commissioner meetings, but most people don't have 2 hours to devote to watch everything. So I've gotten a lot of questions and a lot of requests to cover various events, but there are those maybe that don't quite understand, number one, the function of the auditor's office, and number two, how there could be any conflict there. So I'm going to give a statement, and I'd just like you to kind of clarify whether I'm right in this statement. And that is, it is the function of the auditor's office to look at billings and to ensure that they're accurate.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right? Yes, to audit the bill, to examine the bill.
Right. It's the very function of the office.
We could spend the rest of the show debating the state law on what the powers are of the department head that wants the bill paid, the county commissioners that hired Shaw Friedman and want his bill paid, versus an auditor that looks at a line item on a bill that says that on a certain day that he read an article on CNN.com about COVID and forwarded on to the health department and charged the county for that. Well, I'm the auditor. I'm looking at saying, you're not a health official.
Right.
You are the county commissioner's attorney. What are you doing for that onto the health department and charging for it on the county commissioner bill, like for advising them on legal matters?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to let you be kibitzing over your notions about what the county should be doing from a health-based perspective on COVID. That's the health department. And even if I don't agree with the health department on certain aspects of COVID, Tim Stabosz, it doesn't matter. It's not my business. I'm staying out of it. But he loves inserting his nose everywhere because, as Councilman Earl Cunningham has said a few years ago, he referred to it as Friedman County. Not LaPorte County, but Friedman County. We might as well just call it Friedman County. He said that at a public meeting. I mean, he wasn't incorrect. I mean, that's when I got involved in politics. That was one of the first names that I heard. Sorry. No, by all means. So, I mean, the first thing you want to do, and we talked a lot about this, is to eliminate the forces that undermine the proper possession of operating authority and the proper direction of LaPorte County towards the good purposes that serve the people and serve our future. Right. Like, there's this undermining force that has possessed our county like a demon, frankly, we're possessed by someone who loves what he's got and won't let go of it. And his teeth are sunk, his tentacles are sunk in. You banish that force, you get rid of that force. So that's why we're talking about that a lot.
Right.
But you banish that force by electing the right people. So if you reelect Joe Haney, who's running for county reelection as county commissioner, if you reelect Joe Haney, and Joe's done a great job, he's got fantastic integrity. I love Joe. He's a great guy. He's principled. He has a ton of integrity, and you elect Tim Stabosz to replace Rich Brzezinski because Rich was thrown off the ballot. Did we talk about that? Yeah, we did. That's right. Then you will know at least that even if you may disagree with us, one, will listen.
Right.
And two, we are our own person and no one's going to control us. So then you start talking about what is the vision for LaPorte County. I'm a guy that is interested, I said earlier, in planning, in zoning, in visioning, because, running a county is different than running a city. We have two major cities. It's half the population in our county, Michigan City and LaPorte. They're doing some interesting things. Michigan City is a double track. They're building a tower, where the 11th Street station was or wherever. There's some interesting stuff going on here. There's, and of course the cities have dominion over their own areas, but the
Right.
county needs to be a good cooperator with the two cities. The rising tide lifts all boats, as Ronald Reagan said.
Yep.
And the county's job is a major source of funding that comes in. I mean, oftentimes the county is a primary agent to talk and negotiate with the state senators, state representatives. The county is the largest entity, right? To coordinate and work together, But
Absolutely.
so planning, zoning, what are LaPorte County's unique strengths? What are the county's unique strengths? We're transportation hub. I think, our way of life is special. The historic nature and the lakes and the parks are the two cities that, are part of the oldest, in one sense, the old manufacturing towns, where this legacy, what's left over. Yeah, we lost these high paying manufacturers, a lot of them, but there's this built environment, right? There's these neighborhoods, and now you got a double tracking. And so, we don't want to fear the future, but we want to control it because we don't want outsiders saying what's going to happen to us. The public needs reassurance. That's at a county level. That's at the two city levels as well. And so there's a job. It can be harder for people to envision because the county is so vast. The county is the second largest geographically, the second largest land area in the entire state of Indiana of all the counties, from what I understand. Second largest.
Absolutely.
And so, you go from, the Kankakee on the south and the town of La Crosse to the Hudson Township to Michigan City. You got a lot of different stuff going on. So it's an interesting exercise in planning, zoning. We're obviously dealing with the issue of solar farms right now, and I haven't taken any public stance on it. One of my opponents has made it a major part of his campaign. I think there's a lot of different aspects of that need to be considered rather than just come out either directly for it or against it. One is the private property rights issue. I mean, if a family wants to keep the land in their name, and they can multiply 3 or 4 or 5 times over the rent that they get from, because a lot of people that own farms rent it out to other farmers. They may not farm it themselves. Is the buffer landscaping, are the setback requirements adequate enough? That's in your overseeing zoning law, for example. Some zoning laws require 500 feet setbacks. But I think to just say you're rigidly no, or to have a reactionary response that says no. And, it's a complicated question because some of us as conservatives, I mean, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, don't like the fact that the federal government, I don't know all the numbers behind it, but that they're subsidizing these things, and they're actually giving rewards. I've learned a fair amount about this the last few months. Rewards to NIPSCO or electric companies for shutting down coal plants and going to solar. Well, I'm not a fan of subsidies from the federal government that where something that doesn't pay for itself. But because of a subsidy, which means it's coming out of our taxes, the income taxes we pay, if they're giving a subsidy, I don't like that. So it's complicated because you have these non-market forces that are encouraging things to happen, like the solar. So it's not easy. It's not easy. There's nowhere to, but to say that we shouldn't have solar here. I think there's been overreacting and kind of painting it, some aspects of it, as a bogeyman. I think that the firm that spoke before LaPorte County at the solar hearing talked about their panels being, their silica, their glass, and their aluminum, and that this notion of the leaching of chemicals and stuff like that, where, oh my God, it's going to leach chemicals in the ground and they'll never be able to be farmed again. I think some of that's going too far. So I think we need to study it honestly and make it a decision on each situation. We need to control the destiny of it. Do we want to have berms of soil that block the view from the, how expensive is that? So we want to control our destiny, but we don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction either that says, we're not going to do it, period. That's just my take on it. And so, yeah.
So, but one thing that I think, I want to make sure I understand is that if the citizens, for example, came to you and said, we as a group, and we represent the interested parties, being the farmers and the neighbors, we can show, for example, that And I'm throwing stuff out here. I'm not that up on solar farms. I don't know what they do, or like I know what a solar farm is, but I don't know the long-term effects or any of that. I'm tossing out a hypothetical here.
Yeah.
If they were to come to you with evidence that there were negatives, or with evidence that lots and lots of people of the county were opposed to it, then you would listen to the people.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, I certainly would like to see that, because I've heard that. I'd like to see the horror stories. Finally, the solar farms that have been around for 10 or 20 years and are leaching chemicals.
Yeah.
I'm
If they
open.
exist,
Yeah,
you'd be
I'm
interested in
open-minded to seeing that. So
someone has a question on.
Let me just say this. Yeah, hold that for 1 second. I'm data driven. Okay, my living in the stock market involves the absorption of information to determine what the value of a company is. And I want to find the cheapest stock out there. I use numbers to find, out of the universe of 7,000 US stocks, which ones are the cheapest.
Right.
And so I am an information junkie. And that's why you want to elect me as commissioner, is that analysis, not analysis paralysis, although I guess I have that sometimes in my private life, but analysis.
Yeah.
Fair-minded analysis and making determinations, and it's great when you'll have three commissioners that each have their own minds, as opposed to an attorney that's trying to control them. And if you have three commissioners each with their own minds, then your deliberative process comes out with something the public can sit at a commission meeting and watch and say, you know what, this is pretty damn good stuff.
Right.
And these are the people we elected, and I have confidence, because I was talking earlier about the notion that the people long for leadership. Yes. They long for, and they had that say, like in Ronald Reagan at the national level, they long for someone they could vest their trust in. And so I'm offering you that at a county level. That's why you should vote for me.
Okay. There's a question here. And Tanya Williams asks, what do you think is the growth potential in the South County towns?
Well, South County towns, I mean, you're talking, I guess, Hannah and La Crosse and Wanata, I guess. Yeah. Wanata, I guess Kingsbury and what have you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think one of your determining factors as far as the growth of South County towns really is what happens with US 30.
Okay.
I mean, they've been talking about turning that into a effective limited access interstate highway.
Right.
And some of those places are, in case of Wanata, are right off of 30. So
right.
I mean, I think if you increase traffic, increase volume, and you're right off that road, I mean, you then can, on an adjunct basis, service the traffic from Wanata or what have you. Or even, once it's limited access and the traveling is faster, then people will be more comfortable living in these smaller towns and working elsewhere as bedroom communities.
That's absolutely correct.
I'm not sure what more, I don't know enough about the individual towns to know what benefits remain as far as rail or otherwise. I mean, obviously we got KIP down there that the county is looking to develop specific to, or redevelop based upon the legacy infrastructure that's there. And
that's the Kingsbury Industrial Park.
Kingsbury Industrial Park. So I think that I know La Crosse, for example, is looking to invest in its downtown. I think of a lot of it really is done at the local level, where the locals, and I think it's true of LaPorte, Michigan City too. I've said, because I was interested and I ran for LaPorte mayor before, that as the downtown goes, so goes the city. I mean, the image of your downtown, the beauty of your downtown, is this a place where people want to gather or not?
Right.
And I think LaPorte, Michigan City have improved. But you really need to focus on that and getting investment in your downtown, because then outsiders come in, including potential investors, and they say, this is a quaint place, this is a charming place, this place is going places. And so that would be true of the small towns as well. I know La Crosse, for example, under Justin Keel, who was the former town board president, now a county councilman, has set a vision to invest and create a organized, beautiful downtown, sidewalks, curb gutter, because they got to redo their sewer down there. And so you got to make it look like it's a place. It's a place that people want to be, to gather and to what do you call that? What's that phrase? Desirable and happening. I don't want to say hip,
No,
but
you're right. Happening.
but like,
yeah.
and we've had some of that
Mhm.
in downtown LaPorte where I live. I live in LaPorte City
Okay.
and Michigan City as well. First
Yeah.
Fridays, second Saturdays, whatever.
Mhm.
Galleries that have, so
One thing
that's
I'd like to point out for those of you watching that are maybe concerned about the limited access highway, because in some cases we've seen where it has pretty much killed the economy of a town that used to be connected, like right on the drag, the main drag, and then they create a limited. You ever
Are you
seen the
talking about
movie
town
Cars?
specifically or no?
I'm not talking about any
Okay.
place in
Oh, okay.
particular,
Okay.
just in general,
Oh.
like the movie Cars, right? The Disney movie Cars, where he goes down and it's this little place, and it used to be on the highway, and they built an interstate. One of the things that we noticed here in Michigan City with I-94 is the south end of town is booming. Like they are constantly building more and more and more, and we're seeing a massive uptick in tourists and people stopping for gas and stuff like that. So just because they're building a limited access highway doesn't mean that your town's going to starve and die. There are definitely concerns there, and there are changes that will need to be made. But like, for example, they just built a big new massive Love's that's been planned for a long time, but it's finally here, and they got a Godfather's pizza in there, and it's actually really good. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, really, I guess the question is, and it's not easy to answer. I've wondered myself of getting a better sense of it is, if you build these things, these roads, are they going to are more people, are they going to bypass you, or is it like, when I-94 went in, well, of course it's been a long time.
yeah,
But
I-94 has been there a long time.
There's such an ease of access to the southern strip of Franklin,
Right.
that then people can come from miles around to Restaurant Row,
Yep.
and or Lowe's and Menards, and shop for the best price. Lowe's,
Exactly.
Menards is our
Yep.
third hardware, no, but and
Ace, but it's
shopping
like
district kind of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That like it's a destination,
Mhm.
which ultimately is good for the county, good for
Yes.
that area as a whole. I mean,
Yeah, not only the city but the county as well.
so it's a complicated question. I mean, as far as
well,
there's a natural fear that, how do we know we're not hurting ourselves, right?
right.
If we build a bypass, or if we, facilitate trucks to not be in our downtown. And there's obviously been a lot of debate over the bypass for LaPorte City, and
right.
I've had people advise me politically, it's a loser, don't talk about it, and that's not really, and I'm not saying we're going to talk about it here because we only got like 5 minutes, and there's probably
Right.
other things to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm running for county office, so that's a narrow interest, a somewhat narrow interest.
It's,
I mean,
more specifically, it pertains to LaPorte City.
Yeah, I mean, getting
interests.
trucks out of the downtown is an interest that they have. But,
right.
And that's, one of the important questions really is, as a county commissioner,
Mhm.
You got to, in good faith, weigh the interests of the county as a whole.
Bingo.
Bingo. Granted, there's 3 commissioners that are each need to live in 3 separate districts,
Mhm.
but they're elected countywide.
Yes. And that's important.
That's an interesting, yeah.
It is.
So
it is. It's an interesting dynamic. And it's something that I hope that regardless of what happens in this election, I would actually like to see, because it's been a while since we've actually had 3 independent, intelligent personalities in charge of this county, without 2 or more of them being, I won't say controlled, but
say puppets.
At least could
I'll tell you the last time
enslaved to an agenda, whether it's a particular agenda or an individual's agenda. There haven't been enough discussions, or at minimum independent personalities, and that's one thing.
The last time I remember. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're
no,
fine.
no, you go.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say about Joe Haney. Regardless of we'll have him on, and we'll discuss his personal achievements and hurdles. But one of the things that I appreciate about Joe Haney is that he is not afraid of being an individual. He's not afraid of going against the pack. And it's, again, one thing that I greatly appreciate about you is, rather than thinking about how is this going to look in the press, or how am I going to craft this press release, you do what's right. Whether people agree or disagree with you, in your mind, you're doing what's right for the people of the county. And
it may be shocking. The public wants to elect a person.
Yes.
The public wants to elect an individual. They want to elect someone who actually has integrity,
yes,
and beliefs, but listens as well.
Yes.
So yeah. So what we were talking about earlier, there was something more to that prior. Well, yeah. I want to reassure people that I understand that there's a higher call. Yeah, I'm from the city of LaPorte, and yeah, I ran for mayor, and yeah, I was a LaPorte city councilman. Who cares? I understand that you're running for county commissioner, and I've served as the auditor for 3.5 years. So my identification, my identity now has become county. I'm a county official, right? So this natural progression that this is a balancing act between, okay, and I've seen this in terms of the appropriations. The county council decides where money gets spent. We got $20 million for the federal government COVID money where they can spend it on different things. And does Hudson Lake get it for a sewer line that runs out there or whatever they want to do development of sewers in Hudson Lake, or does La Crosse and Hannah get it for sidewalks like this federal money? That's going to go away. But and I understand, and I want to reassure people that this was a weighty decision about fairness, who gets what, how county money gets spent, and I don't take it lightly. And I know that you all need to have confidence that decisions are being made on as fair a basis as possible with input from all parties, and that I do my best based upon my conscience, based upon honesty, based upon taking input, but that ultimately, of course, we're designed that 3 people vote publicly, transparently to make a decision, and not everyone's going to always agree, but at least you can respect me and my basis for making decisions. That's what I plan on if elected.
Fantastic.
When elected. So
well, we got a few minutes left. I want to talk
cutting it
to
off
you.
sharp right at okay. Hey,
no,
we started late.
Yeah, we started a little bit late. We got like 8 minutes left for if we're gonna cut it right at.
Give me a hard time.
I know. That's welcome, actually. A lot of times when I have someone on, they're very stiff. They're very worried. I want to show, and I think it's really important to show the person that you're voting for. Yeah, you can read press releases, you can follow them on social media, you can do these things, but there's just something. There's just something more when you see someone on camera sitting there talking to you.
Yeah, let me say this. It kind of gets back to something I said earlier. I have seen when people trust one another, department heads in the county or in an organization. And this has been something new for me. I'm 56 years old, but I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, which means I work for myself, right? In the stock market, I had certain small business activities. This was something new for me and kind of challenging, a little scary at first to have a staff of 14 people that work for me. They're all women, which is fine. I only bring that up just because there's a certain dynamic when your staff is all women and you're a man or whatever. It's because there's a unique social dynamic between
really,
them.
really nice.
And I've enjoyed that role supporting my staff in their professionalism in multiple ways. I mean, and building a team, supporting a team, believing in people, having them move laterally in my office from one position higher up, promotions, and we're a very strong office, and I'm very proud of that. It's a great culture, and I like to bring that culture to the county as a whole, and it's really a culture of trust.
It is
where people feel safe. I want the department heads and all the employees to know that to feel safe.
Right.
And Joe Haney tried to bring in, when he first got in office, a whistleblower protection because we needed whistleblower protection.
We do.
And it was sabotaged by Sheila Matias and Rich Brzezinski and Shaw Friedman, because they were afraid, Shaw Friedman was afraid that, who's going to be the whistle going to be blown on? It's going to be blown on me, Shaw Friedman. So we have to sabotage this. Right. That's basically what happened at the time. And so we got watered down whistleblower protection that wasn't really whistleblower protection at all. So, but you want people, the point about that is to bring up Shaw Friedman against. The point is that you want people to feel safe because then they can flourish.
Right.
I want department heads and their direct reports and ultimately the guy on the line or in the foxhole of the county employees to feel safe.
That's
and
critical.
So because then critical. You flourish, you function, you produce for the people of LaPorte County. And there's a lot of good things about LaPorte County. There's strong departments. There's there's good leadership. There's independently elected officials that
Mhm.
can run their departments, like me as the auditor, frankly,
Right.
where they're not interfered with by the dysfunctionality,
Mhm.
because my staff knows that they're accountable to me, and no
Mhm.
one's going to hurt them, no one's going to terrorize them. But other departments, where the department heads are appointed by the commissioners, you have dysfunctionality at the commission level. Then you have, you have certain people now, former commissioners that were fired for political reasons,
Mhm.
suing the county, and
Yes.
it's a disaster, really.
Mhm.
And that's a reflection of dysfunctional decision making at the commission level
Right.
that puts the county at risk.
Mhm.
And now I got a legal bill across my desk for $12,000 to pay because certain commissioners were irresponsible
Yes.
in the way they fired someone, or they fired them for political reasons, in my opinion. And I think, wow, I need to run for commissioner because the public deserves better. And that's why on my card here it says, because you deserve better. That's not
Yes.
because I think I'm a great guy, or because I've got an ego. That's because, you know what, I got to run for this office because I can't bear what I've seen, and I can do better.
Right.
And so please elect me, and I won't let you down, and you can have confidence in me. And re-elect Joe Haney, because Joe is an honest, great guy with a lot of integrity, and he's very smart too.
Yes. I'll tell you, at least for me, my ideal commissioner lineup, right, would be you and Joe Haney, and then the other one will get the other one will get figured out.
Oh, I thought you had.
in a couple of years.
I thought you were going to tell me your dream commissioner. Who would that be? You know, like
so it's a little early. It's a little,
I see. Yeah,
it's a little early.
Because that becomes
announce,
a recruitment thing, right?
Right. But I will say this.
I know someone very close to you that ran for that.
Right.
Before, okay.
I will say this. You and Joe don't agree on everything. It's not like you guys are a carbon copy of each other. But you can.
That's true.
You guys can get together and have a conversation and have a discussion and have disagreements and keep it civil without snarky comments or ridiculous behavior. I would love to see a commission personally with you and Joe Haney, because I know both of you. Now, that said, it's a primary. Who knows what could happen? I'm not supporting anyone publicly at this point because it's a primary, and I hopefully will have other people on the show. Just so you know, your opponent, one of your opponents, Steve Hollifield, please
do not say his name on my show.
Oh,
just
sorry.
kidding. No, that's a joke.
You're right. You're right.
No, that's a joke. Steve, I love Steve.
He's a nice guy.
Steve and I have been getting along fine,
Yeah.
even though we're running against each other.
Right. You're both.
You know what?
Because
Steve has his own principle and his own integrity, and I respect that. I think I'm the better candidate, obviously, and more background, more qualified.
Well,
but
I will say this
but
because I think it's important.
Please do not talk about Steve. Oh, just kidding.
No, it's fine. He had made an appointment. He had made an appointment for an interview to come onto the show. He canceled the day before. Now, bear in mind, he had set up the time and the date for this. Okay. He canceled the day before. We had reached out to him to have him reschedule, and we haven't heard back from him.
I'm sure he'll be back.
So hopefully we'll have him on. If not, I will say this. I am looking forward to spirited debate on and between the commissioners rather than the culture that exists right now.
We have vowed to be respectful, Steve and I called him, he called me, whatever it was. And it's been
you guys have known each other
civil
for a long
the whole
time,
way.
Haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, Steve was active in the Democratic Party and ran for county council years ago. But I met Steve 15 or so years ago because he was going on sound off and saying what a bad force Shaw Freeman was for LaPorte County. I said, Steve, there's no Democrats doing this.
Yeah.
Like you are, and I respect you and thank you for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So what do you think is the biggest, other than what we've already discussed, what do you think is the biggest issue facing LaPorte County right now? Obviously, we talked about some behind the scenes forces, some current elected officials who are giving us trouble.
I mean, leaving that aside, leaving the cleaning up of corruption and leaving up the cleaning up of the corrupted operating the way the county operates, because there's a very good chance that part gets fixed. Then you got to say, where do you want to take us?
Right.
Well, I mean, again, the unique strengths of the county. everyone always talks about economic development. So, that's kind of your number one answer. Cause, even if there's more of a problem with crime, perhaps in Michigan City, for example, that's the job of the city
Yes.
and the mayor and the police
Mhm.
chief to take care of. So,
Agreed.
and hopefully they are, and they will.
Mhm.
So, I think really long-term visioning and planning and economic development and what we want for ourselves as a county. Like, we made a decision a few decades ago, kind of right when I was getting here, I guess, to get rid of the dump and
Okay.
give up the tipping fees that we got from having a dump right at our expressway entrance to a city. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's probably a good decision, because was it worth it to sell our souls and sell our bodies
Right.
and sell ourselves for that money? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. So and I don't know how all that those decisions were made and who were the
Right.
leading forces, because it was a little bit before the time when I came here. But
Yeah.
so
It's kind of back in the day.
But I'm a firm believer that by hanging out a shingle and putting our best foot forward for the unique quality of life that we have,
Mhm.
it's not about, let's throw all these tax abatements at people to get them because all these other places are trying to do the same thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
how does the county work with the cities
Mhm.
to make this place that we call LaPorte County,
Mhm.
and the cities may be more important than the counties, because if manufacturers or businesses are going to locate, they're most likely going to locate in one of the two cities.
Yeah.
It can be the county,
It
but
can
it's
be.
going to be typically off the interstate
Usually.
where we put infrastructure in,
Mhm.
like where Love's is.
Right.
So, but it more commonly will be the two cities, but
Mhm.
the county has its own developable
Yeah.
areas. How do we put our best foot forward? What are our unique strengths where we can market ourselves in a way that it's not about throwing tax abatement at them and buying them to come here, but where they want to come here because they think it's stable,
Mhm.
they think it's going in the right direction, they think there's great planning, zoning, visioning, and that their people, they want to move their people to live here.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Yes.
that's a tremendous competitive strength that we can leverage even more.
Mhm.
Now, the two cities are going to have their own responsibility to do that. Again, the double tracking those historic neighborhoods in Michigan City, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, and we can't operate based on fear.
Right.
There's some that would be fearful. Well, I don't, do we want us to gentrify? Do we want people from Chicago or whatever to be coming here and restoring old houses? Well, I think generally the answer is yes, but
Yeah.
because then you increase the value of the properties if they're
Mhm.
investing in them. Your tax base expands so that those of us maybe who live in more modest areas that aren't like having their values go up tremendously, our taxes will go down.
True.
The taxes will go down on a modest house in a more modest area, because the assessed value of that house won't go up as much as if they come and do the type of stuff they do
Right.
with gentrification in Chicago. So,
Yeah.
but my point about all this is we need to control the destiny. I'm
Okay.
a LaPortean. I'm a LaPorte County person.
Mhm.
And so it's us controlling our destiny together through our county commissioners, through our elected mayors, and that we don't have to be afraid about growth if we can reassure the people that and talk to our people and get input from our people. Okay, what do they want with solar farms? Yeah, we don't ignore it,
Right.
but there are people that have farms
Yeah.
that want to put the panels there,
Right.
and they can dump electricity right into the grid because the power lines are right above them,
Right.
and it'll supply the equivalent of 60,000 houses,
Mhm.
which is the entirety of LaPorte County. Again, I'm not a fan of government federal subsidies, so
Right.
there's a number of different considerations
Mhm.
here, but
it's obvious
so
that
what makes LaPorte County unique and special is
that
that
you're
always
willing to look at all the aspects of it and carefully consider what the best thing for LaPorte County is. Not the best thing for a certain small group, but the best thing for LaPorte County as a whole.
Right. What do we want? I mean, I don't necessarily have answers to all of these questions. We've been 110 to 115,000 people kind of for the last 50 years, essentially.
Mhm.
Modestly growing the last maybe 20 or so, I think. But
Right.
what do we want? What do the people want? If you grow, and if you grow at least some 2, 3, 4, 5% a year, they've talked about wanting, and you have it in Michigan City. We don't have it as much in LaPorte City,
Right.
and they don't have it in the rural parts of the county, but you have a better chance of getting national chains. You want that chain restaurant, to come here. to come if you're growing, because then they'll put the one restaurant in and they'll say, well, if this place is going 3% a year, our sales will grow with them. But if you're stagnant, you're flat, they don't want to make that investment because like, we don't know if this is going to go down or if it's going to stay flat, but it's not going up. So we're not going to make it. So if you're growing, eat your population, even 1 or 2 or 3%, and they see like you've grown 1 or 2%. So if we want to grow super fast, like Carmel, Indiana, probably not, but so I don't have all the answers, but I do know the right questions. And I think you do want someone in charge as one of 3 commissioners who has a passionate interest in planning and zoning and visioning and that type of thing for the county as a whole.
Absolutely. Okay. Last thing here. And that is, what key thing or individual feature or bit of trivia would you want people that are watching this to know about you?
Boy, we talked about a number of things already.
Yeah,
so
we did. Which if you're
trivia.
tuning in late, make sure you go back to the beginning, but skip like the first minute or so where I messed up the mic. just
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
What did you say? What were the 3 questions? Bit of trivia?
No, like if there was one thing that you wanted the people watching to know about you.
I suppose that I tried out 3 or 4 years in a row, but not this year for Who's Your Star.
Oh, okay.
So,
What's Who's Your Star?
Who's Your Star? What?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Can I
with
shame you?
You can shame me a little. Yeah. No, I have no idea.
Who's Your Star is the singing competition in the city of LaPorte.
Oh,
that's at the Civic Auditorium.
Oh, wow. All right.
That is where they compete. There's tryouts usually, kids division, adult division, and for amateur singers.
Yeah.
And I've tried out the last 4 or 5 years. Didn't make the finals.
Okay.
But didn't make it this year. Didn't even try out. The tryouts were like last weekend. I've been too busy with the campaigning and stuff.
Yeah. But
I think last year I tried out with one of my favorite songs is, this is a bit of trivia.
There you go.
Is It Never Rains in Southern California by Alan Hammonds from the early 70s.
See?
I don't know what it is, but I guess you want to know something about me.
Yeah.
Is 2 of my favorite songs from when I was a kid in the 70s. I was born in 1968. Were It Never Rains in Southern California, which is about a guy going to Hollywood, a young kid going to Hollywood and dreaming.
Right.
I could maybe sing part of it, but and then the other one is Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell, which is 1974, which is these dreams of stardom in that. And I don't know, I was a kid, but those songs inspired me because it never rains in Southern California. Got on board a westbound 747. Didn't think before deciding what to do. It's just
look at that. See?
So
you have a very good voice.
So that's something I guess to know about me. And then I guess the other thing, and we wrap it up here, is again the same era, my childhood is 2 of my favorite TV shows at the time. And one was 1974. It only lasted 1 season, The Night Stalker.
Oh, okay.
Darren McGavin was a TV reporter investigating monsters and vampires and all kinds of these fake
right.
And his boss didn't believe that he was seeing these things, and they had fights and stuff. And that was the guy seeking the truth, right? He was a reporter that was finding the monsters. It was dangerous. The monsters could kill him, but he was going for the truth, and he wanted to expose. Look, I'm really seeing these monsters. You have to believe me,
right?
And it was interesting.
That is interesting.
And he wore his pork pie hat. He had a hat and his seersucker outfit. It was just he was. And the other was actually my hero of my youth was Quincy, Dr. Quincy, Jack Klugman as a medical examiner, in that 1970s TV series where he was righteous and he was uncovering corruption and that. So if you want to know something about Tim Stabosz, my inspirations were Quincy M.E. Fictional, heroic figure.
Okay.
So television had redeeming features in those days. They set examples for children, and the public.
Quality masculine heroes.
Quality masculine heroes. What the last one was Michael Gross on Family Ties, maybe. And then you got Married with Children, which really kind of disgusted me. That was like the beginning of the downfall. But anyways, we got to wrap up the show.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so, we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us as always. And I hope that this gives you an opportunity to get a little bit of insight to who who the person behind the campaign is. I think that's really
Yeah.
important. That's what I try to do on this show.
Thanks for doing the show, Dan. You do a great job, and you
Absolutely.
did a great job with me, just bringing out the person. And so I'm glad you do. It's great service to the public.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop you off here,
Mhm.
and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Stabosz, running for LaPorte County Commissioner in the Republican primary. There is just enough time left. If you are not registered to vote, I highly recommend you get on it because you're running out of time. I forget what the exact cutoff date is. Look it up. It's not hard to find. I had it, but I'm not running, so I'm not nearly as worried about. I'm just kidding. No, it is important, and whatever your party persuasion, Democrat, Republican, please register to vote and vote in the primary. In many, many cases, LaPorte County is a good example of this. Indiana as a whole is a better example. In many cases, the election is decided in the primary. So fingers crossed that that's the case here, because I personally am tired of the way LaPorte County has been run for quite a while. I personally want to see some major changes. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've gone on long enough. Thank you for spending your time with me this evening, and I hope you enjoyed this kind of look behind the curtain. God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America.